The need for the training came out of previous research that TASC had done on household debt in Ireland, and it really, when we were looking at that, it found that Ireland really does have some of the highest levels of household debt in the EU, and then on top of that there are particular groups in Ireland whose debt is really affected by those high interest rates as well, and that's quite concentrated in particular groups that are maybe economically excluded anyway. In addition to that, in addition to particular groups being affected by that really high interest debt, the research was able to identify groups that are really struggling in Ireland with finances, and also groups that are really just squeezed by the high cost of living as well. So really, throughout that research, we were really able to identify that there is that need for a really targeted financial capability training to really improve the resilience of these groups as well, and so that they're able to have more control over their finances, and also they're able to maybe put some money aside as well, so that they have that bit of resilience if shocks do happen. Number one, really, to start off with, is talking about really just opening that conversation about finances. It can be a really difficult topic to talk about, and it's one of those things as well that there can be that sense of stigma and shame when talking about it. So really, one of the things we focus on, especially in the first couple of weeks, is just making sure that we have that safe space to be able to talk about where things can be difficult, and given that Ireland is a very high cost country, that people are able to recognise that this is something that affects everyone. We also then talk about savings and budgeting as well, so really being able to structure people's spending, and really having that awareness as well of what's coming in and out of their household in terms of their finances, so that they're able to then change and adjust as suits them. Then we kind of move on to the cost of credit and loans, so being able to compare different types of credit, looking at where there can be high costs, looking at where maybe alternative options for accessing loans and credit might be that are maybe cheaper for households to access, and then as well just being aware of things like how loan providers decide to lend to you or not, through looking at like your credit report, for example. So one of the other key parts of the training is having these one-to-one sessions with a financial coach. So we do work with financial coaches throughout the training, and that gives each participant in the training the opportunity to really go in depth with their household budgets and to really look at exactly where they can find areas in their household budget to make them more resilient as well, and allows that personalised approach so that they're able to look at using their finances in a way that works for them and their family. So in addition to kind of that broad educational piece around the context in Ireland and the tools that are out there, there's a really targeted and individualised approach as well. So there are a number of groups really affected by the high cost of living in Ireland, and that was really shown throughout our research as well, specifically when we're thinking about people in the private rented sector or single parent families as well, that really feel those costs that are experienced kind of throughout society, but really intensified, I suppose, when you're in particular situations. So those are some of the groups that we're really targeting the training towards, or aiming towards as well. What we've actually found in addition to that is that one of the things that's really come across clearly, especially from the past year, is when there are shocks or there are changes in your financial situation, that can really throw you. And one of the really big things with financial resilience is just building in those habits that allow you to kind of have real sight of the money that you're spending and have real sight of the money that you're coming in, and that when things do happen in your life, like a change in employment, like a change in income, or even a change in your family circumstances as well, that can change how your relationship to money and how you actually then go about managing it. So one of the things that we found really interesting is having those groups there as well that have experienced those shifts over the past year and that are finding it a really useful approach to come to the training and then have a look at their new circumstances and then build in those day-to-day habits again, so that they have more control, I suppose, over their financial situation. So in terms of what I enjoyed most from the training, one of the key bits of our approach is that it is fostering that group dynamics that we can all learn from one another, and recognising really that everyone is an expert in their own experience. So one of the best bits for me really is when someone says, "Oh, I haven't thought about it like that before, I'm going to try that." And that can either come from something that I've said, that can come from something that someone else in the group has said, but it really is just making that really practical link of this is actually going to change someone's life or change their habits, and that they're going to be better off as a result of that. So it's really, really positive to see.